All right, every Wednesday, we think it's a big deal. We get an opportunity to talk to Scott Shanley, Super Bowl champion, former Husker, and now a member, along with his brother, Andrew, the Nebraska 8-Man Football Coaches Association Hall of Fame went in this weekend. First of all, congratulations. What was the event like, and what does it mean for you and your brother to be recognized for your 8-man prowess?
Well, I appreciate it. It was a huge honor, and I tell people all the time that throughout my football journey, playing 8-man football, growing up in small town Nebraska, St. Edward, and then walking on Nebraska, earning a scholarship, and then going on to play 10 years in the NFL, there was one thing that my brother and I always took pride in, and that was where we came from. Especially where we live now. He's in Houston coaching 6A football, and I'm in Dallas, and we see what Friday nights look like here. But I told my coaches that were gracious enough to come to the festivities this past weekend in Hastings. I told them I wouldn't change anything in the world for the way we grew up. It was unbelievable. A lot of our work ethic and our resiliency was formed in small town Nebraska. And we had big dreams, but we didn't let where we grew up stop us from accomplishing those things. So it was an amazing time. I think they did a great job putting everything on. Just to be involved with all the other inductees was an honor. And I think my favorite part of the weekend was getting to watch the 8-man All-Star game between the East and the West. It was a great game.
Hey, you had a great career. Your brother was a really, really good quarterback. Well, and we've never talked about this. So, and in this state where 8-man football has a special place, and there have been plenty of 8-man alums that have gone on to play either at Nebraska or elsewhere and have had nice careers. What was the transition like from playing 8-man to when you show up in Lincoln and you're back to playing 11-man?
It was like a whole new game. I think for me, the most difficult time in my football life was redshirting at Nebraska, because it's one of those things where you redshirt, you don't you don't dress for the games, you're basically a practice squad player. And, when you're a young boy growing up in Nebraska and you listen to the games on the radio on the farm, or you watch Nebraska, Oklahoma, and Nebraska, Colorado on TV, those are the things you're dreaming of. Nobody tells you there's this thing called a redshirt year where you go practice every day and you have to go through all those things. So that was a difficult year, but to me it was the most rewarding year, and it was the year that helped me develop more as a football player than any other year. Going against national championship caliber players, covering guys like Sheldon Jackson at tight end every day, going against the pipeline offensive line, and just being that practice squad player, going against the elite of the elite in college football, it completely changed me as a player. The weight program changed me as a player, and I learned a lot of football in that 1 year.
Do you think back throughout your football career, and maybe some of the stuff that you preach today or your brother does, that actually playing 8-man football helped you immensely in the formative years before you got to college than playing 11-on-11 like everybody else, because of what 8-man asks you to do on both sides of the ball and how it's a little bit different?
Absolutely. I tell people all the time, the best shape I've ever been in my life was probably playing high school football, because you don't come off the field. When you have 20 kids on a team and you have 8 of them standing on the field, that doesn't leave you with a whole lot of subs, and a lot of those guys are young guys. So you're going to play. You're going to start on offense. You're going to turn around. You're going to start on defense. You might be the kicker and the punter. You're going to be the punt returner and the kick returner. So you're going to play every single snap. And for me, I enjoyed playing offensive football. I enjoyed playing running back and getting the sweep right, sweep left, and doing all those things. But for me, I think playing that much offense eventually helped me be a linebacker and become a good cover linebacker and able to cover tight end, because I had to work on my feet all the time. So those skills that I learned by staying on the field and never coming off definitely helped me play linebacker for as long as I did.
Scott Shanley joining us here on the Gary Sharp Show. How surprised are you that your former Husker teammate, Dominic Raiola, doesn't have a son that's built for a lineman, but has a son in Dylan who had a great weekend in Lincoln and is on a roll in the class of 24, could be a 5-star quarterback?
Yeah, it's shocking. When I saw that Dominic had a son, the first thing I thought is, well, this kid's got to be a great center, a great offensive lineman. Then I saw his size, and I saw his ability to throw the ball, and I was shocked. But the more I learned, I think his mother was a volleyball player at TCU, so maybe he gets some of that athleticism from mom. I don't know. I'd have to give Dominic a hard time about that. But he's on like a world tour right now. Every camp, getting offers right and left. I talked to Scott Frost's mom. She was in Hastings at the 8-man All-Star game because her husband was an inductee, and she was there to accept his plaque on his behalf. And they were just blown away by Dominic's son throwing the ball. And he's one of those kids, like she said, when you sit there in the stands and watch, certain guys just stand out, and he's definitely one of those guys.
He has a big boy arm. I mean, for somebody who is still relatively young, you would not have known, Scott, that he was in the class of 24. But now, how does the dynamic work? Because you know how much Dom loved his alma mater, and for him to bring his son here on a Friday Night Lights, and his son got to stop by Eric Crouch's house and got his picture taken with Eric and his Heisman. So they did it up big this week, and they rolled out the red carpet for him. But how is that, you think, as a dad? You love your alma mater. You're somebody that can definitely play in the Big Ten and at a high level. And, how do you step aside and let the kid make his own decision instead of saying, hey, you know what, if you go, as you saw in that stadium, my number is up there. Nebraska's the place for you.
Yeah, and I think you have to let it be their decision, because they have to be comfortable with when they go through adversity, when they go through hard times, which they all will. Will they be able to stick it out because it was a place that they wanted to go to, and they didn't choose it because of something else? And if anything, it almost makes it harder to go to Nebraska when you do have to look up there and see your dad's name. And do you want to form your own path, or do you want to bring Nebraska back to relevancy? Do you want to be one of the main reasons that you're playing in games that your dad was able to play in big-time bowl games? So I think it really depends. Like you said, he has a couple years. He's going to probably be offered by everybody in the country. And also, as you're weighing that decision, what does Nebraska's talent around you look like? Because as we know, in this game, you need guys around you. You need an offensive line. You need receivers. You need guys to help you perform the way you want to perform. And it gives Nebraska a couple years to continue to develop, fill that cupboard full of resources so that you can make another pitch to him when the time comes, because there's no doubt he's going to have every single school after him.
Why are high school kids so far ahead of the curve now at quarterback than they have ever been?
Yeah, I mean, I see it down here all the time. I think it's really 7-on-7, and you're able to do these things year-round. And, when I was growing up, 7-on-7 wasn't even really a thing. And I know it's always kind of been a thing in the South, but it just continues to grow. You continue to see offenses, 4 wide receiver offenses that translate from the 7-on-7 game back into tackle football. And you can continue to work on those things. You can work on your timing. And if any position, you go to these camps, if you show up as a linebacker and you probably didn't start in high school, it's probably hard to get offered a scholarship. But the one position that you can do that, I should say the 2 positions, is kicker and quarterback. You can go throw the ball, look great. Kicker, you can go kick the ball, look great, and you're probably going to get offered a scholarship because there's just skills and traits that you can't teach. And a lot of schools aren't going to wait around when it comes to those 2 positions.
You know this a little bit because you help guys get ready for the NFL side. Can you speak to, and what you know in the Dallas area, how the quarterback academies and camps and quarterback gurus, how that industry has exploded as well, and is that good or bad for kids?
Yeah, I mean, I see it every day here at our school. Damian Williams played at Mississippi State. He's Dak Prescott's best friend. Dak works out at our Lovejoy High School all the time. And so Damian trains guys over here, and you can see the evolution. It's almost a peer pressure thing. And I had 7th grade quarterbacks ask me, should I be training? Should I go with Damian?
Wow.
And I said, he's great. He does a lot of things, but they see the older kids. They see the other kids getting trained in there. And I think you just continue to see kids younger and younger and younger going into those training environments. And it's not a bad thing, but it can be a bad thing from a mental standpoint if there's a lot of pressure put on kids at a young age, because we all know all kids develop differently. They physically mature differently. And so what you don't want to do is peak too early, but at the same time, there's pressure not to fall behind these other ones who are getting trained.
What do you think of college players and at the quarterback position that in the offseason, during the summertime, they'll go away from their campus, away from their position coach who can't have day-to-day instruction with them? They'll go and work out with somebody in San Diego or other places where these coaches are known as directing quarterbacks. Are you okay with college kids doing that in their off season?
Absolutely. And I think it's hard for their position coaches. They have to, I think as long as there's a feedback between coach and player, what's going on. What you don't want to do is if I'm your position coach at Nebraska and you're going to some other quarterback guru and he can absolutely help your game, but it doesn't come back into play into how we're running our offense, whether it's the timing, whether it's your reads, whether it's your progressions. You want all those things to tie in, and that's the one thing like I was talking about Damian Williams here, Dak's guy. He puts everything in with our quarterbacks just like our high school coaches run it, with the timing aspect, where they're looking, what their read progression is. So I think as long as there's dialogue between coach and player and they understand what's going on, you can never get too much work at that position.
We'll get you out of here on a couple of NFL questions because we talk a lot with your connection to the Saints and the work you do for the Saints. Hey, what happens if Taysom Hill doesn't win the starting job?
Listen, I don't think anybody will be shocked. I think Taysom is going to be the front runner because he's been there so long, but Jameis Winston was a number one overall pick for a reason. Jameis Winston just turned the ball over too much in Tampa Bay, which led to him being out of there. I think Jameis Winston has a much higher upside. He's a much better quarterback, but Taysom Hill is going to get his opportunity. He's been there. They love him in the locker room. The coaches love him. But it really comes down to, can you drop back and throw the ball 30 to 40 times a game, be consistent, and keep that ball from touching the ground, 65 to 70% of the time? That's what Taysom will struggle at. But I really don't think anybody will be shocked if Jameis Winston ends up winning that job.
And what do you think this will the average fan notice a difference in the Saints offense in the transition from Drew Brees to either Winston or Hill?
Absolutely. I think you are going to see, regardless of who the quarterback is, Taysom Hill obviously will probably run the ball more, but I really think the last few years, nobody will dispute that Drew Brees' arm strength diminished. His accuracy and his timing were still impeccable. He could probably still complete 70% of his balls again this year. But it was a slice and dice offense, intermediate to short routes. I really think Coach Payton is excited about Jameis Winston's arm strength. I think he's excited about getting vertical again and pushing the ball down the field. I think you're going to see many more vertical routes out of the Saints offense.
Will you see as much give and take? I mean, I know in the quarterback-head coach relationship, there's a lot of trust, and when you had Drew and Sean Payton together for as long as they were, there is a level of trust that they can have a good back and forth. Is Payton the kind of coach now with a new quarterback that's not Drew Brees, somebody that'll have the give and take, or will it be a lot more, hey, this is what we're going to do before you get to that trust level?
Yeah, he definitely is a coach who trusts his players. But like I said, you have to, if you're the quarterback of the team, and he said it countless times, and I'm sure he still says it, when you have the football in your hands, you carry the hopes and aspirations of everybody in the organization. And so he puts a lot of pressure on his quarterbacks and ball carriers to take care of the football. If he does that, Jameis does that, if Taysom does that, he will give them more of the offense. And a lot of times, Drew was an extension of Sean on the field when it came to audibling. They knew what plays each other liked. Those two were almost tied at the hip when it came to how they thought about the offense and what plays to get in and out of. That will take a little bit of time, but I think Taysom being there a long time, Jameis being there for a year, they understand, take care of the football, and when we can get into successful plays at the line of scrimmage, Sean Payton will let me do that.
Great stuff. Again, congratulations to you and your brother for the Shanleys being honored, and rightfully so. I appreciate your time as always, Scott.
Absolutely. Appreciate it.
That's Scott Shanley, who him and his brother, Andrew, played at St. Ed, and Andrew both played for the Beavers. His brother was a fantastic quarterback, and Scott was exceptionally good as well. I mean, got the opportunity to play at Nebraska and then for his lengthy time in the NFL. But they had the 8-man weekend with the All-Star game and then the induction into the Hall of Fame, and they went in under the family category as the Shanleys go in. All right, time for the mailbag coming up here in just a little bit. We will keep an eye on today. So yesterday there was so much going on in sports yesterday, whether it be almost a no-hitter at the College World Series, which is rare, and then that game flipped quickly, and Mississippi State puts up a 6 spot, and they hold on to win 6-5 to put Virginia on the brink of elimination and Mississippi State to move on. At the same time, you might have been flipping back and forth. The Royals come back. The Cubs were doing work as well. I have to throw that in there. Wander Samuel Franco, who is going to be a star, made his debut last night for Tampa. Ironically, 15 of the 20 starters in the Mississippi State-Virginia game were older than Wander Franco. He's going to be great. You had the NHL going on, you had the NBA, and then you had the blank show that was going on between the Nationals and the Phillies involving Max Scherzer. Sometimes when you have over-regulation, it makes it worse. Major League Baseball made a public spectacle of umpires checking pitchers. We have turned the pitchers into villains. If you want to know who's screwing with the game, why don't you check out the spin rate? Garrett Cole's spin rate dropped. Now, Garrett Cole was fantastic last night for the Yankees. That was one of his better performances, but his spin rate has dropped. But Joe Girardi had it out for Max Scherzer yesterday. That started the day in umpires checking pitchers. It ended with Sergio Romo, who I think was having a little fun with the umpires, basically disrobing on the field. It was what, about 30 years ago? Remember when Steve Lyons dropped his pants at a game at Tiger Stadium when he was playing for the White Sox and we lost our mind? We went, oh my God! I mean, we almost had pitchers disrobing last night. We're going to have pitchers nude because they're being checked. Every orifice is being checked for spider tack. Let them play. I mean, it became a joke last night. And it's Rob Manfred and the decision-making that created all of this. Are there some pitchers that are taking some liberty? Yes, absolutely. I even think about it daily. If I was pitching, where would I hide my spider tack? Ask yourself that. Where would you hide your spider tack? Okay? Behind the ear, on the hat, down the front? I don't know. You know, on the back of the leg? Where would you hide it? There are some pitchers that are doing that. Now, if you get caught now, you're a damn fool. Okay? Because they've given you enough fair warning. But Major League Baseball created this. Mentioned in the offseason. Then let's start enforcing it at the beginning of the season. Instead of being reactive, and in the middle of the year, we start to enforce it. Hey, you were good, and then we got all this bad PR. Now let's go ahead and enforce it. So much that, I'm sorry, I'm an umpire, and I got to run my fingers through your hair. So we turned a blind eye, Major League Baseball did, to this, and then it got attention, so we have to react. And we made it a spectacle last night. It was a bad look for Joe Girardi. He didn't like that Scherzer was touching his hair. I mean, there's gamemanship that goes on, and then there's just absolutely ridiculousness when you check him for the third time. Well, they should have just had Max Scherzer undress on the mound. Now, I think Scherzer went a little far. Like, if I'm guilty of stuff, and I've been guilty of stuff in the past, not in a court of law. But like when you're a kid. And and sometimes when you're playing and you're a player, you know how to divert attention. So if you angrily throw down your hat and you throw down your glove, you kind of divert attention. Scherzer did that last night, and they didn't even check his hat or his glove. But today, the two biggest memes going are Scherzer and his disrobing, and then Swin Cash when the Pelicans didn't get a good pick. And the reaction that she had on live TV. So good. But we created this spectacle that is such a terrible look for Major League Baseball. And this will last about a week, and we'll be on to something new. And if you're caught now, you are a damn fool because they've given you plenty of runway to say, we're going to start checking this. Umpires don't want to do it. Do you really? And as a fan, do you really care? Do you really care? And are you like, oh, please, DeGrom, don't get caught. Please, DeGrom, be safe. Make DeGrom undress so we know that he's good because he's on the doorstep of one of the best pitching seasons in the history of baseball. Better than Bob Gibson in 68, better than Pedro Martinez in 2000, better than Greg Maddux in 1994. I mean, as a fan, do you want somebody to get caught? Or you're like, Major League Baseball, you turned a blind eye. I'm going to turn a blind eye. But give me a little bit more offense. If you want to check people, check whose spin rate is down. That says a lot. But please, do not have the mess that we had last night. And think about this. If I'm a manager in the opposing dugout and I want George checked, what's going to happen to my hitters? We're going to buzz the tower? We're going to have a little repercussion? These are things baseball doesn't think about. But baseball last night, that was you had the good and the bad that seems like it happens nightly. You had a 20-year-old making his debut, hitting a home run in front of his dad, who caught it live while he was filming it, and the reaction, which is great to see. And then you had the bad side of baseball that is going to lead us down the path of owners, commissioner, players, and what's going to happen next year when the collective bargaining agreement runs out at the end of this year. I thought last night was just a really, really bad look for baseball. And we'll probably get it today, and I'm sure umpires don't want to do that. I mean, they got to check a guy's hair. I don't know about you, but me checking another guy's hair, I'm not really here for it. Whether you have something in your hair or not, that's illegal or legal. Okay? I'm just not. No. But the Phillies and the Nats play again today. But Girardi, that was not good for Joe Girardi. I mean, he's been in the game long enough. There's gamemanship, and we all play that, and you'd be stupid not to. But to do it for the third time, Girardi's getting the reaction that he is getting. And both dugouts win each other. Watch that game today between the Nats and the Phillies. And, oh, by the way, the Nats are playing well. Playing really well. They won 8 of 9. Schwarber is on a heater. They brought back Parra. This is like the World Series year all over again for the Nats after a slow start. All right, time for the mailbag. George has got the questions. We got the jokes. We'll entertain you. We'll engage you. Parker Gabriel's coming up at 1:30 as well. On a Wednesday edition, halfway now through the only full week of the College World Series right here on 1620 The Zone.